The purpose of this video is to review how to graph lines in slope-intercept form. That is the form y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we recall that in this form y equals mx plus b, m represents the slope, right? So we can think of that as rise over run. Or I often like to call it fall over run if the slope is negative. And then what's B? Remember what B is? B is the y-intercept, right? So appropriately named slope-intercept form, y-intercept. Okay, all right, so with those things in mind, we're being asked to graph the following equations in slope-intercept form. So the first equation we're given is y equal to 2/3 x minus 4. Okay, so just looking at the equation, it's in that form y equals mx plus b. M, the slope, is 2/3. Yeah? And the y-intercept is -4, right? And I'm going to write that as an ordered pair. So we're really saying 0, -4, right? So that's giving us information about a point on the graph. Okay, so let's plot that point, 0, -4. It's down here on the y-axis, putting it there in green. Okay, and now we're going to use the slope to generate some more points on the graph of this. Instead of building and creating a table of values and such, we're just going to use what we know about the rise over run, the slope of this, to find some more points. So if we look at the 2/3, 2 is our rise and 3 is our run. Okay, so I'm going to count up 2 squares up and then over 3, right? So that gives us the point 3, -2. And I can do it again. I could go up another 2 and over another 3, and that would be the point 6, 0. Okay, and I can do this as many times as I want, but it's linear, right? So how many, really after the first one, once we get 2 points on the line, we've got it, right? But I'm just trying to make a point here. You can do it as many times as you want. And then connect the dots. Okay, make sure you put arrows on both ends of the graph. Very good. Okay, so that makes it very easy. If you notice that you have slope-intercept form, think about the slope and you're given a point, right, with the y-intercept. So from that one point that you have, you can use the slope to find as many points as you need. Okay, so over here with y equal -2x plus 3, the slope, what's that coefficient in front of x? The slope is -2, and the y-intercept is 3, right? And I'm going to state it as an ordered pair, 0, 3. Okay? Also, another word about the slope of -2. So we notice it's an integer value, and so when we're thinking about the rise over run thing, you can always think about this as -2 over 1, right? That's how I think about it when I'm going to go to graph it. Okay, so let's plot the point that we know, 0, 3, they're on the y-axis. And then how are we going to use that slope? Well, when the slope is negative, instead of rising over run, you fall over run. So in this case, we're going to go down 2 units and we're going to run over 1 unit, right? So let's do that again. We're going to fall down 2 units and run over 1 unit. Okay, so in doing that twice, we now have 3 points, which is all we need. But again, you can do this as many times as you want, right? Down 2 over 1. Okay, all right, connecting those dots gives us a nice straight line there. Another thing to notice, in the first example, when we had the slope of +2/3, if we were to stand on top of that line and walk on it from left to right, like we were reading, we would be walking uphill, right? So it's increasing. And that's the case when you have a slope that's positive. When the slope is negative, if you're walking on the second example there, you'd be walking downhill, right? So those are some differences between positive and negative slope in the way that they're oriented. This is a very easy way to graph a line. If it's in the slope-intercept form, you're given a point really, and you can use the slope to find a few more.